over at BetMGM right now, Bryce Harper is the second favorite. He is 7-1, followed by Yordan Alvarez, who is actually the favorite. I flipped those two, sorry. 6-1 for Yordan Alvarez, which I think is banking on the fact that the Astros are favored to win the World Series. Bryce Harper a touch behind because the Phillies are underdogs in this series. Then you have Justin Verlander, Alex Bregman, and Kyle Tucker all at 10-1, followed by Kyle Schwarber 13-1, and Framber Valdez 11-1 as well. So, Jenks, from the chalky plays, who do you think wins the MVP? Just throwing value, per se, out the window. Who do you think wins MVP?
I'm going to say Verlander. If we're talking chalky here, all of the bets are going to be on Bryce, guaranteed, because you're getting him at 7-1, guaranteed. And even if you think that the Astros are going to win the World Series, and I do, I'm telling you, Harper is going to get all of those bets because of how he performed in the NLCS. But I think the Astros are going to win the World Series. And we talked about this yesterday, Chelsea, but yes, the Phillies have a better story. They have a better narrative going into the World Series. What have the Astros done? Just quietly not lost a single game. Not a single game in the postseason. That's not exciting. That's the way you want to do it. It's crazy effective. They had a low-scoring series against the Mariners, didn't matter. Then they continue their run in the ALCS. They don't get touched again against the Yankees, and here they are in the World Series. I think Justin Verlander, I was doubting him a little bit going into the postseason because overall in his career, his postseason numbers aren't spectacular. They're very good. It's just they're not Justin Verlander good. However, in this year's postseason, he has been absolutely lights out, particularly his last performance. So I like him at 10-1 here.
I think if you look at the history of this award, a hitter has won 6 of the last 7 World Series. And a lot of times it hasn't been the chalky guys. It's been whoever hits these timely home runs and hits for the best average in the World Series who wins this award. So let's take a look back at some of the past winners. Jorge Soler, who wasn't even on the Braves for the entire season, won it last year with the Braves winning the World Series. Corey Seager for the Dodgers back in 2020. Steven Strasburg, the lone pitcher in the last 7 tries with the Nats with a 2-0 record over his 2 games started. And I think when you look at these hitters, the key factor is the home runs. The guys who hit the home runs in the big situations. Jorge Soler had 3 go-ahead home runs in the World Series. Corey Seager had 2 home runs and hit 400. Steve Pearce, who was the guy that kind of came out of nowhere for the Red Sox in 2018, had a .333 batting average and had 3 home runs with 8 RBI. So I think when you look at this list, maybe take a look at hot hitters. And even if it's not the normal guys who have a chance at maybe getting hot and taking this crown away from the big names. So looking at Jeremy Pena, the rookie for the Astros, who had a huge home run in the final game of the Astros series against the Yankees, he's 18-1. Looking at other good hitters, Jose Altuve probably has to heat up at some point, but at 13-1, I don't think I'm willing to take that risk. Kyle Schwarber has hit some huge home runs for the Phillies as well. So Kyle Schwarber at 13-1. Is there anybody that you think is kind of out of the normal realm? Because when I say Kyle Schwarber, like that's not crazy. But at the same time, the way that he hits home runs, they are no doubters that sometimes I feel like when there are humans voting on this award, you see that and you're like, oh my God, that went a mile. That guy's the MVP. So I think, Bryce Harper deserves to be the favorite from the Phillies. But there are other guys that can win this award.
Oh, no question. And you just talked about how sometimes there are these unsung heroes. Steve Pearce, for example, was out of baseball 2 years later. He won the World Series MVP. Then he had one more season with the Red Sox, and I think he batted under 200. He was older anyway. He was done. So you just never know who it's going to be. I will say, and this is a big name, but Jose Altuve at 13-1 is some pretty good value there. And I think you're getting value because of how he started the postseason, Chelsea, which was 0-for-23. And that was the worst start to the postseason in Major League Baseball history. But in his past 2 games against the Yankees, he finally ended that streak. 3 for his last 9. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal when you've gone over for that long. We know he can hit. He hit 300 during the regular season. He had 28 home runs, 57 RPI. He was injured for a time there during the regular season before he got healthy. We know he can hit. We know he's been in this situation before. I think we're getting value based on his early postseason struggles, but I really like the value at 13-1 for a proven hitter.
Right. I think the sabotage factor is maybe he doesn't hit the home runs because for a little guy, for somebody who's what, 5'6", 5'7", he has pretty good power. But I do think the home runs are the stat that really kind of gets you the edge when it comes to MVP. And somebody on the other side who has a ton of power, but you're not getting a ton of value on him, Yordan Alvarez. We have seen the big
Mm-hmm.
clutch home runs that he's gotten. And talk about a cheat code. This is a guy that I think maybe the sabotage factor is maybe they start walking him. But how do you walk a guy in an Astros lineup that has so many good hitters around him? So maybe we see a productive series from Yordan Alvarez. Do you think any of these starting pitchers are worth a shot? Because I think you're pretty on the nose with Justin Verlander, especially with the storyline that's surrounding him. Because like he is such a veteran. He's been doing this for so long. He's coming off an injury. What a comeback season for Justin Verlander, who hadn't pitched in what, a year and a half? And now he comes into the postseason with an ERA below 2. So I think if you take a shot on a starting pitcher, it's probably going to be Justin Verlander 10-1. But there's other good starting pitchers for the Phillies. Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler have both been really good this postseason. Zach Wheeler may be a touch better. But do you think starting pitchers are worth a look in the MVP market?
Sure, why not? At the value, yes. Now, if you're looking, I like Zach Wheeler. If you're backing the Phillies at 18-1, I think the reason why Nola has slightly shorter odds is that don't we think Aaron Nola is going to start game one? I don't know if that's been decided,
Yes.
but he has a built-in advantage, right? Because he's going to start game
Mm-hmm.
one, whereas Wheeler will have to go next. So I think Wheeler is the better pitcher there. I like him at 18-1, but what you need to happen is you need this to be a longer series so that Wheeler gets in there again. But at 18-1, he is the best pitcher on that Philly staff. So I like him just because of the value involved.
Yeah, I think for a starting pitcher, you absolutely have to have at least 2 starts in
Yeah.
the World Series in order to be considered for this award. Like I said, 6 of the last 7 awards for MVP have gone to hitters. And we've seen it in years past. I feel like there are years where even relief pitchers who have come in and done fantastic, phenomenal jobs at keeping their teams in it for multiple games, like they're just not going to win it. We just haven't seen it. It's not supported by previous winners. So I think I'm going to go with final answer for me is going to be Jeremy Pena, 18-1, and taking a shot on, God, maybe Kyle Schwarber. I think those are going to be my plays.